decided to buy a new home, that's awesome. I couldn't be more happy for you. It's the American dream, right? It's one of the coolest things we do. It also can be one of the most stressful, and all too often I've seen it turn into the American nightmare for folks, unfortunately. My name's Brandon Parsons. I'm a journeyman carpenter. I've been in this industry most of my life. I'm a certified home inspector, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen homeowners buy a new house, and the next thing you know, they're on the hook for a $20,000 roof that they weren't expecting. And it's so simple. These things are easy to avoid, and it frustrates me. So I think a lot of times what happens is, when you're buying a new home, it's so stressful, right? You're trying to pick out the house, the colors, making sure the kitchen's okay, the parks, the schools, the financing, yada, yada. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And I think the home inspection aspect of it can get either missed, or maybe the homeowners didn't pick the right person to begin with. Because like here in Michigan, for example, we don't have any state certification. Anyone can say they're a home inspector. So it's really, really important that you pick the right person to inspect your house, and you also have a good dialogue with that person to understand what's going on. This is the biggest investment most people make, right? It's our home. When you go buy a new car, what's the first thing you do? You pop the hood. It could be a brand new car and you're still popping the hood, which really doesn't make any sense, especially nowadays when you can't see anything under it. But we do, right? So with our homes, I just put together 5 real quick steps that anybody can take when they're purchasing a new house to hopefully avoid these same mistakes that I've seen so many homeowners make, and I don't want to ever see anyone again be in that situation. So I hope you like it. Check it out. Number one thing you need to know first and foremost is exactly what a home inspection is. A home inspection is a visual report done by a certified home inspector, and it's non-invasive, meaning the home inspector is not going to go around moving big heavy things or get into areas that they're not able to access. So what they do is they walk around and they do a visual assessment of what they see at present time. Now that's really, really good because it can give you a good idea of what's going on. However, they don't have a crystal ball and they don't have x-ray vision. What do I mean by that? Well, if something's going on and it's hidden from that scope of that investigation, then they're not going to be able to tell you exactly what's going on. Say if a basement's finished and they can't, get behind things to see what's going on with the foundation. Or they don't have a crystal ball. They cannot tell you how long something is going to last. They can give you a general idea of the life expectancy of certain products based off of historical data, but that doesn't mean they can tell you, well, yeah, the roof's going to last another 20 years. And these things, I think a lot of times homeowners misunderstand when they hear the home inspector say, well, the roof typically, say it was done in 2007, right? And the home inspector pulls out the list and they say, with this type of shingle, we expect that to last, 15 to 20 years. Homeowners hear that and they think, well, 2007, it's only 13 years old. I got another, 5-6 years on it. That's not always the case. The case is every house has individual things going on with it, and you need to understand that. Home inspectors giving you is just a general idea of how the systems are performing at that time in your house, with what they can see. And that's the most important thing for you to understand is it's not necessarily exhaustive. If they do see a major defect, they're going to report it to you. And if it's something that's beyond the scope of what they feel comfortable with, they'll tell you to get a specialist in there to maybe investigate something further. Say for instance, like a chimney, right? They're going to tell you, get a chimney sweep in here. It's a good idea to have one in, twice a year anyway to make sure it's functioning correctly before you use it. But if they see an issue, they're going to tell you to go ahead and hire that specialist. That's what a home inspection is. However, it is the most important thing you can do because you need to know what's going on with their house before you make that investment. Next biggest thing, number 2, pick your own inspector. I can't tell you how many times people are just like on cruise control. They're like, yeah, whatever, I'll just take whatever, inspect. Don't do that. The best thing you can do is vet the process. You need to understand, it's like picking your own financial advisor. You need to pick who's best for you and who you're comfortable working with. And when you do that, you get the opportunity to interview them. You're hiring them to do a job. Think about that. If you're hiring somebody to investigate something for you, wouldn't you want to make sure that it's somebody that you A, trust to be competent, and B, understand what they're talking about? So I always recommend to homeowners, pick your own inspector. Make a phone call. Have a conversation with that inspector before you guys actually go out to the house to inspect it. You can ask, for references. You can ask what kind of experience they have. And generally, you can get a pretty good idea of who you're dealing with, both on their online presence. You can read their reviews, and then just make that phone call. Have that initial conversation and interview so that you're comfortable with who you're having inspect the biggest investment you're probably going to make in your life. 3, be there for your inspection. This is one of the biggest investments you're going to make, and for you to understand what is going on with it is so important, right? And the best way for you to be able to do that is not when it's in a piece of paper in a booklet. No, the best thing for you to do is actually be there with the home inspector. That way, when they do find something, or if you notice something when you're walking around the house, think about it. You can ask that inspector live and in person. You're paying them to be there, and you're there, right? So why not just have the conversation with them live? And then you can understand it. You can see it. It's palpable, right? You can understand what's going on. And that's the most important thing, because that inspector's going to be able to explain to you exactly what's going on with the house. Or if you have a question, maybe it's a big deal, maybe it's not a big deal. Regardless, it's good to understand what's going on with the house, and the best way to do that is to be there in person so you can have the conversation with that inspector at the time of inspection, and you know what to do moving forward into the next process. 4, and I cannot stress this enough, separate your emotions from your logic when you're making this decision with your home. I've been in sales a long time, and sales is based off emotion. And in our houses, oh my God, I know you're gonna spend so much time there. You want to make sure that it's like the kitchen you love and the neighborhood you love, and that's great. But don't fall in love with it to the point where you won't walk away. And I've seen so many homeowners do that. Where they absolutely, like, this is the house, they found it, and I understand what it's like to go through all that, right? You're like searching the house, it's a seller's market, things are disappearing, you can't even hardly get an offer in on one. I get it. And you finally get one nailed down, and you're like, well, I've got the home inspection, we're going to do this is the house we want, and you've got all these emotions built up about, like, you're already picturing yourself living in the place, right? Like, I understand that. The problem is, what a lot of homeowners run into is they don't want to hear about the bad things at that point, because they fell in love with it. They don't want to hear about it. And that's unfortunate, because it puts them in a negative headspace to listen to what the inspector has to say about, like, potential big problems that can occur down the road. I don't want to hear, right? I just want to buy it, right? They make new houses every day. And don't ever be afraid to walk away from one, because you do not want to get yourself into a 30-year mortgage with no equity left in the house, and the next thing you know, you have a big issue that you have to take care of, and you don't have the capital to expend it, because I see that all the time, and I never want to see that happen to homeowners. So if you can just separate logic from emotion, make a logical decision about the thing that you do love, hopefully, and that way you can work out and find something that's going to fit both your budget and make you happy. Number five, review your inspection with your inspector. Don't just take the report and see you later. You have to sit down and go through this. Even if you were there for the inspection, it's good to go over it one more time so you understand exactly what that inspector found, and you can ask questions again and just review all of the facts that's going on with that house, because these reports can be 50 pages deep, and nobody's going to go through that, right? Most people take that and they put it in a filing cabinet. They never look at it again, right? Until something's too late, and then they're like, they're busting it out, right? It's better just to sit down with your inspector, take the time. They'll take the time with you to go over it so you understand exactly what's going on with the house before you buy it. And that is very, very crucial when purchasing a new home. You want to know what's going on, have the best overall picture, so that when you do finally make that decision to go ahead and pull the trigger on it, you hopefully have a really, really good understanding of what's going on and what you can expect out of that house. Thank you so much for watching. I hope those tips were helpful. If they were, please smash that like button at the bottom of the screen there and subscribe to my channel. My goal is to give you as much information as I can about your house before you move in, once you move in, and then, in the long term, I'm going to be testing many products, and that's the whole idea of my channel. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and good luck on your next purchase.